A Greta Thunberg Bronze Statue at a British university sparks a massive backlash as more and more people are rejecting radical leftist climate alarmists. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest Greta controversy, how it's exposing the latest failure of the far left to impose draconian restrictions on our freedoms, and why more and more populations are taking what some are calling a rightward turn towards solving environmental issues. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here each and every single day to give you conservative hope in the midst of these turbulent and trying times, helping you to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So if you haven't done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also for you podcast fans, we've now reached over 2 million podcast downloads, so make sure to click on the link below and sign up for our various podcast platforms. Also for you old tech fans, we got Rumble and Parler channels down below for you to click on. We'd love for you to subscribe to them as well. Before we dive into things here, you know, a new invention has come onto the market that's helping to relieve pain using nanotechnology. It's called Relax the Pain and uses nanotechnology patches to help relieve pain anywhere in your body within seconds. You simply stick the patch on the source of the pain and it could subside the pain or aches in under 60 seconds. It's pretty amazing stuff. And best of all, if you click on that link below today, you're going to get your patches at 50% off. But this is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Click on that link below right now or go to relaxthepain.com and get 50% off your order today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. A fascinating story is making its way around the international media. I don't know if you've seen this. A statue of the radical climate activist Greta Thunberg has been installed at the University of Winchester in Britain. It's a bronze statue. It's life-size to honor Greta, who the university calls an inspiring figure. And it was erected as a symbol of the university's commitment to combat what they're calling the climate emergency. Let's just say that the students of the university certainly didn't see it that way. This is especially the case when they found out that the bronze statue costs over £24,000 to make. The Winchester Student Union is calling on the university to match the statue cost by committing an additional £24,000 to student support services across campus. The students also referred to the statue as, frankly, a vanity project. In other words, it was a deliberate attempt by its creators to showcase and highlight the university, but it turned around and failed miserably. And that failure could be seen on the university's Twitter feed. Look at some of the comments responding to the university's tweet celebrating the bronze statue, their supposed monument to the climate emergency. One person tweeted out, quote, "Perhaps something else you could try as well is not being incredibly unnecessarily wasteful. Start investing money into research and courses that could lead to positive environmental change." Another person responded, ideally would have been better placed in Beijing, one of the world's major contributors linked to climate change, and of course, one of the places Greta hasn't been to. Out of your control, of course. And yet another tweet pointed out the ironic amount of electricity needed to cast the bronze statue, which of course defeats the entire purpose of the monument in the first place. Now, this isn't the first time the British have had their issues with their elite privileged class deliberately attempting to push Greta on the public. You may recall the controversy surrounding the BBC's announced 3-part documentary series featuring Greta Thunberg, where they're going to follow her along on her crusade to save the planet. And that announcement seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to the British public continuing to pay the BBC license fee. The British Express led with the headline, "You pay, they preach. BBC license fee savaged over new Greta Thunberg documentary." If you do not know, in Britain, in order to have television service, you have to pay a fee, part of which goes to funding the BBC. And increasingly more and more Brits want nothing to do with this fee, especially in light of the BBC's incessant leftist liberalism. And this Greta Thunberg documentary just seemed to be the last straw for many. So Greta, who's Swedish, has not necessarily been the most welcome personality in the British Isles, or elsewhere for that matter. We've done a number of videos following the controversy that Thunberg sparked in India. Several weeks back, Greta found herself in the midst of a gigantic international controversy involving what the nationalist government in India was calling a globalist interference into Indian domestic affairs. And this is in regard to Thunberg getting in the middle of this farmers' strike and protest in India against the Narendra Modi government and a number of the reforms that they've been implementing. So if you don't know, in the midst of this whole domestic turmoil, these protests, good old Greta got an email a document sent to her, which many are calling a toolkit from these left-wing activists. It was a list of action items that they wanted Greta to take to bring awareness to the farmers, but it actively sought to tarnish the international image of India in the process. So Greta gets emailed this document and she screws up. She mistakenly tweets out the toolkit for all the world to see. It was an obvious mistake for Greta to tweet the political strategy sheet out for the public. She was supposed to tweet out the suggested tweets and do the suggested actions, but she wasn't supposed to tweet out the memo itself. That was for her alone to see. And this is when the fallout began, and the Modi government there in India began to accuse Greta of unlawfully getting in the middle of domestic Indian politics. So Greta seems to be rather unwelcomed on the international stage at this point. Who knows, maybe she should try out China to see how welcome she would be there. Maybe, you know, as the earlier tweet pointed out, but for some reason, Greta has yet to badger the Chinese government. But regardless, look, we've talked about this on other videos. This is what you get when you, the media, deliberately try to fabricate an environmentalist hero that's supposedly beyond reproach. We now know that Greta is a media invention, right? She's a concoction. The Daily Caller reported last year that over 250 news outlets and journalists partnered with Columbia University School of Journalism to intentionally influence the United Nations Climate Conference, where Greta gave her now infamous "How dare you" speech, right? And as the Daily Caller notes, this coordinated leftist activism among these journalists intentionally fabricated a hero, what they meant to create as a megastar. And that, of course, was none other than Saint Greta. And the whole purpose of lionizing Greta was to galvanize American and worldwide support for the radical leftist policies being advocated by environmental activists. But Greta was quickly exposed as little more than a pawn in all this. We did a video back in 2019 showing how Greta responded when she didn't have a script, when she didn't have talking points written out for her, and it was painfully obvious. I mean, it was literally cringeworthily obvious that she was being fed her lines. She was a pawn being used and exploited by opportunistic far-left activists. And so it's no coincidence that more and more people are pushing back against Greta. Well, not even so much Greta, but against the radical leftist environmentalists who are behind her, manipulating her as a human shield to disguise their radical agenda. More and more people are realizing, whether it's the extreme COVID lockdown measures, whether it's the vaccine passports, the Green New Deal, environmental alarmism, and apocalypticism, more people recognize that whatever the globalist left freaking advocates, it's always an attempt at imposing tyrannical measures on population. It literally doesn't matter what it is. It's always an attempt to oppress and to subjugate and hamper the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Perhaps this is why more and more nations are opting for what some scholars have been calling the environmentalism of the political right. Now, before we get into that, if you are looking for an encouraging, hopeful alternative to all the fake news nonsense that's being spewed out there on a daily basis, you know from who. The same people that propped up Greta Thunberg, right? CNN, MSNBC, you're going to find no better antidote than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Just listen to that title. It sounds so good. Don't take my word for it, though you should. Just look at the hundreds of comments on Amazon and you'll see, in terms of those reviews, how this cuts through all the cynicism that we so often feel living in this globalist world. And page after page, I give you all the data and the stats, the indicators that show that a new conservative Christian majority is indeed emerging, not just throughout the United States, but Europe as well. And it's already transforming the world map into a more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on that link below, we're offering it for a limited time at a 50% discount. That's right, 50% off, so do not wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on that link below and get your book at a super discount today and arm yourself with the information, the hopeful information you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, back in 2018, The Atlantic had a very interesting piece on what they called the global rightward shift on climate change. And they noticed that there was a pattern emerging throughout the world of more and more populations rejecting the climate alarmism of the left and embracing a more right-wing approach to environmental issues. Now, contrary to what so many in the media believe, the conservative right does in fact have an environmental policy, which tends to stress conservation over environmentalism. All right, remember, modern-day environmentalism sees the nation-state as having largely failed to protect the environment. And so modern-day environmentalism is inherently globalistic, right, and transnational in nature. It's always trying to impose a one-size-fits-all approach to environmental issues. By contrast, right-wing environmentalism, it rather embraces the nation-state, with each nation-state's own unique way of traditionally treating the world as sacred space. And so nationalist environmentalism tends to stress things like farm co-ops for the production of whole foods rather than corporate-based GMOs, or they turn toward conservation in their suburban landscapes, limiting the amount of strip malls and commercialism allowed to build within their vicinity. Right-wing governments are increasingly limiting the access of foreigners to mining and depleting their respective nations' natural resources. The point here is that environmental issues tend to be seen by the nationalist right through the prism of cultural identity and national sovereignty. It's not like it's not there, but it certainly demurs from a globalist-inspired top-down, one-size-fits-all, how dare you environmentalism that dictates to populations the whims of a few aristocratic elite. An elite whose days of exploiting a young idealistic teenager appear to be coming to an end. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And also, you want to click on the link below and check out some of our really cool merch. And you also want to click on the link below, or you want to click the link over here and check out our latest video. And that's on San Diego teachers snubbing American kids for teaching in-person immigrant children, all as homeschooling has surged over 300% in less than a year. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.